Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show Audio Test Edition. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, the reason for this video is to do a simple audio test when changing from a GPU-based setup where I have my NVIDIA GTX 980, which is getting on a little bit now, encoding the stream. I've now flipped across, so instead of it being, let's just show you, instead of it being very low CPU usage down here, which was typically 3, 4, 5%, now it's up to 15, 20, whatever percent. I'll assume that this will jump up even higher once I start streaming. So like I say, I've completely changed the way that the system now renders the information, so it's not GPU based. The reason I've done that is because no matter what I seem to do, now I've gone through and I'm content that every single level I've set has got the correct limiters in it. Same goes for OBS. I've set my filters correctly so that, as far as I'm concerned, nothing is going to get through. I've got a final last limiter to stop things clipping. I've got a couple of compressors that I run. I even tried it with 3 at one stage to see if it was just something that was getting through the 1 millisecond compression settings that I had on this higher compressor, which I've now turned off. But yeah, I've cut out a couple of the different filters. In other words, I have tried everything possible to stop me, and it seems to just be me, unless it's just me being hypersensitive about my particular audio because it's me. But there is certainly a distortion, and it doesn't seem to make any difference if I'm loud or quiet. When I say something with an S, it does seem to be the case that that does cause a bit of distortion. So it may, or at least I assumed, may still be that sibilant sound is getting through the microphone enough to cause an overload. So what I'm going to do is shut my door first of all, because I don't want to wake anybody up. There's my shouty test, even though it is pretty late at night. Let's just check how late it actually is. 1:30 in the morning. Sphere believing Fundy! That's how I'm going to do it. That's all I'm going to do. Should really have done it with my actual settings showing. That would have been a lot more sensible. Why is this looking like this? I'm speaking at a lower level now because this sort of level of muttering and mumbling is kind of what I expect myself to do during a show. But I want that to be audible, because sometimes I am talking to myself at this kind of low level while I'm thinking and talking. But, you know, my kind of talking and thinking voice still needs to be audible to an audience. While shouting at a Fundy also needs to be definitely audible. This seems good to me. As far as I can tell, I'm not going any lower than, or any higher than -5, maybe -6. My, -5 is as high as I've got, I should say. That's going to be good. I'll stop there after 3 minutes of streaming. 17% CPU usage. That's nothing. I don't think it would matter if it was 100%. Certainly some games that you can run on this computer now that are AAA titles. Not that I've done this, but I'm almost certain that some of them would run my CPU, which is 4-core, 8-thread at 4.7 gigahertz. That's probably not that great these days and could easily run up to 100% on a game. And when I've run it at high percentages, when I was testing this system with games to do that, exactly that, for that purpose, which is run the high CPU usage, so that I'm stressing the CPU to see where the limits are. That stress didn't seem to cause any issue when it was running at 80, 90, 100% from memory. So I can't imagine that I would get any issues. My only real concern would have been in summer. Now that we're in September or end of September, I don't think that matters. So the fact that it's hotter shouldn't really make any difference. What I will do, though, is get onto this mic. I'm confident now that when I grab this mic and start talking directly into it for the proximity effect, that this shouldn't actually overload. Like I say, I've worked so hard to get my compressors working. This should just give me a nice proximity effect now. And even if I do try and take it over, you know, obviously it's going to get closer to the clip point, and a direct S into this with any sort of energy behind it will take me straight into the clipping point. But the limiter should be doing its job, and that red line that it's just produced, I'll just show you with my mouse, should, in theory, still not have let OBS clip. Let's just do it with this on screen as well. I've got a limiter on this now, so this shouldn't make any difference, but you should just see a bit of red when I put a lot of S energy, 4 fingers off the mic. That's not trying to put energy in there. Yeah, I can get it up to the red, but that's not surprising given I'm 4 fingers off this mic. Let's just put it back to its position where it was. Fist length, at arm's length with a balled up fist. So that's my normal, typical position and volume that I'd normally be talking at, so it's not anything out of the ordinary. But I do tend to talk a lot more, you know, a lot more enthusiastically. And I think the only thing I'm going to have to do from now on is, like I did with my Blue Yeti, is exercise a bit of mic control. I was hoping that by getting a shotgun mic, I wouldn't necessarily need to move if I'm yelling my head off. When I'm in the throes and the swing of debating with somebody, what I really want to do is just debate with them. In other words, not really give much thought to where my mic position is. That's all well and good when you're looking at meters and thinking about how the show's being produced. But that's what all of these tests that I've been doing currently are for. Sort of giving me the confidence to know that I don't have to move the mic. But I think you do. I think there is just a certain amount of dynamics that has to be put into a mic. But even then, the reason for this stream is because I figured out that this distortion I'm hearing isn't when I'm really loud. I mean, I was yelling my head off at Bob the Science guy, full pelt, because he's talking and fundy muting me while I'm trying to get a point across. And I need to put that extra energy in, i.e. raise my voice, to stress to the audience and to stress to the guests simultaneously that I'm going to be heard, that point that's trying to be fundy muted will actually get through. Therefore, you end up just talking at a bit of a higher energy level to get the person to, you know, actually listen to you. But I don't think any of the distortion that I'm describing is actually as a net result of the mic being overloaded, because it definitely isn't being overloaded into the preamp. The line into voice meter banana being overloaded, again, because it isn't being overloaded. It's at a really nice level. Even if I talk at a higher volume, it's not getting into the red, and the compressors are doing all of the things that they should be doing in OBS. So the compressors are doing their job. They're compressing, squashing stuff, making the loud stuff quieter, that's what's supposed to happen. So I don't think it's the case that as I up my volume, I'm causing any sort of clipping distortion or overloading distortion. There is just something going on in terms of the way that the system's being processed. I actually got in touch with somebody that does a sound speeds. He does boom mic operation and talks about it and makes videos about it. Very good channel. Subscribe today. And he had the same distortion I had in one of his live streams. So I asked him, I was like, at this particular time, this is the distortion that I'm getting. What is it? And he said it's packet loss. So you kind of think, okay, well, I've got a good system. My computer's a bit old, but it's not inferior. It's equally as good as a mid-range PC that you'd buy today. So it's not a rubbish PC, although it is getting on a bit. But if it's some sort of packet loss problem that's causing a very mild distortion at any level, it doesn't seem to matter. But I say that and hesitate because I think when I'm hearing it is often after something that I know has got high energy, something like an S or a P, and you think, well, maybe that is just getting into the last compressor, and the fact that it's having to start at 1 millisecond means it's having to kick in really quickly and it's noticeable. So I'm just hearing the sound of a compressor kicking in quickly because there's a high value plosive gone into a mic or something along those lines from me. And yeah, it's compressed. No, it's not overloading and it doesn't show in the waveform. But the what I can hear, and I can definitely hear it on my system, is a distortion that I just don't want there. Now, this might seem overly fussy to some people. They might think, why do you even care? You know, what distortion? What are you talking about? And if I highlighted it, you'd say, okay, that's in 0.2% of a 2-hour show. Who cares? Why lose sleep over it? Well, I think wanting things to be better is something that you know, keeps you going and motivated to produce a better product. And that's all this is. You know, Flat Earth Debate's a product for consumption, and I want it to be of a very high standard. And my ignorance is the only thing holding me back as far as I can ascertain in this regard. Now, I don't know how to get this to be better, so it's just suck it and see, try these things. Every show is audibly different at the moment, which is in and of itself very frustrating for me. I want consistency, but there we go, that's life. You know, I can't get to a higher quality without sacrificing a bit of consistency to get there, and that's what this is all about. So anyway, if anybody has actually listened to this, if I end up broadcasting this or publishing this video to the excitement of maybe some members or maybe some Patreons, I don't know, but either way, I'm really hopeful that this will be the last test I have to do in this regard. And changing to CPU-based rendering or encoding should solve the problem if it is actually a packet loss issue. I think 10 minutes is enough for me to experience at least one pop or crackle that I can discern as being distortion. So if it is the case that this does have some of that distortion that I'm finding irritating, then what I shall do is switch back to GPU rendering and we'll go from there, still trying to figure out what it is that's causing the issue. Anyway, I've also adjusted some of my settings prior to the last stream that I did, just for my own reference. So in this particular stream, I have, as I say, knocked off one of the compressors, the 20:1 compressor that was coming in at -6, and lowered the last gate, the last hurrah, which is at -3.5 now, I think, whereas it was at -2. Not a massive difference. I've also added 1 dB of gain to both of the existing compressors that are in effect. I've also upped the second compressor from 2.5 to 1 to 3.5 to 1, and then lowered the output gain, the second stage of output gain, from +10 to -7.5. The original output gain that gets me into the limiters in OBS, I haven't adjusted, it's just at +3 dB, just so everybody as an average is being pushed up into the first limiter so that the compressors can start doing their magic after it's had another gain increase of +7 now. So that's it. That's just for my own reference. Very, very dull if this gets published, which it probably won't, probably because I just made that statement, which is so incredibly boring. But I'm just buying time and hopefully talking an increasing volume because I'm getting more enthusiastic about what I'm talking about. I'm also now much, much closer to the mic. I'm probably 30 centimetres instead of 40 centimetres off this mic because I'm sitting up to talk so enthusiastically about compressors. Anyway, I'm going to round out this show. So it's got an outro, so I can publish it if there isn't any audio nasties in it. Please, Jesus, please make this not distort. Then I'll publish it and say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!